Hey.
Alright, Joe, so as I'm jumping back into things for this NBA regular season as we approach the playoffs, one storyline that caught my eye, just looking through Twitter, is that Deandre Ayton has been putting up quite the numbers over the last month or so. Now, I'll be fully upfront about it. Deandre Ayton is someone who I've had gripes with in the past. I know he is a very decisive player in the NBA today. So again, that's why it came as that much more of a shock to me that he was actually putting up good numbers, and people seem to be backing the play and saying that, he's finally turned the corner. So I myself had to do a little bit of investigating and, find the answer myself. Is he actually turning a corner? Is Deandre Ayton actually taking a leap? Now, I'll get us started with some empirical data from the season. Across Deandre Ayton's first 40 games this year, he's averaging 14 points, 10 rebounds, almost 2 assists to go along with a steal, and he's doing all that on 57% shooting from the field, taking 11 shots a game. Now, since coming back from his, I believe it's his second most recent injury now, because he is currently injured as I'm making this video, but regardless, his last 7 games, his numbers have seen an increase. He's averaging 24 points, almost 14 rebounds to go with an assist, a block, while doing that on 61% shooting from the field. And the big number that really catches my eye is the near 18 shots a game that he's been taking during this stretch. Because obviously there's been a big scoring boost over this last stretch of games, but in terms of efficiency, that's going up too. But the main reason for the boost is, again, just the fact that he's taking over 6 more shot attempts during the stretch than he did earlier on in the season. But enough of the boring numbers, let's see what the tape actually has to say. But first, I will give a quick disclaimer. There's going to be points in this video where I am likely going to come off as a Deandre Ayton hater. I'll be hating on Ayton, whatever you want to say. And it's true, I'm going to try my best not to, but again, I've not always been the biggest fan of Deandre Ayton, so again, just, keep that as a grain of salt in the back of your mind that, there's a little bit of history between us. Regardless, I'll get started with the positives about Ayton, so we have some nice flow to this video, but he's a really good offensive big. I will give him that. He can definitely go get you some buckets from pretty much anywhere on the court that's inside of the 3-point line. Especially in a game like this one that I watched when they were playing the Atlanta Hawks a couple of weeks ago, he was on fire from the mid-range area, foul line area, and was just very rarely missing shots. And when he has it going like this, he is a very tough guy to stop once he has the ball in his hands. Not only can he hit catch and shoot jumpers from that deep, foul line, elbow area, but he can also feed him into the post, and he'll be able to hit the little post turnaround, back shoulder turnaround jumpers from that area as well. Plus, if you can get him the ball anywhere around the rim, he's usually good to finish those shots as well. There are times where I wish he would go up strong with the basketball and maybe dunk on guys every now and then, but at the same time, I understand that not everyone is built like that, and Deandre Ayton sometimes shies away from contact a bit too much and will turn these easy opportunities into tough fading jumpers, which I don't entirely agree with, but he makes them, for the most part. And if there is one actual, really good thing that caught my eye, is Deandre Ayton in the short roll is a very good player and above average in that area. It really stood out in this game because the Hawks were doubling Anthony Simons on a lot of high ball screens, and Ayton did a good job of slipping to that middle foul line area. And when he received the pass, he either attacked the rim or would kick out to shooters, and although there weren't that many instances of this happening, he looked very good in the few times that it did happen. So overall, Deandre Ayton on the offensive side of the ball on that end of the court has been great, especially in these recent games. But the defensive side of things is where a lot of the real cracks start to show for Deandre Ayton. And this is the part where I'd like to point out that although nothing really concrete has ever come out of it, only allegations, but Deandre Ayton at times has been criticized for lack of effort or just not fully being into a game. Again, although nothing concrete has ever really come out of it, there are times where you feel that way watching him on the defensive side of the ball, and it's just really frustrating for the most part. When teams run pick and roll against the Portland Trailblazers, they generally use him as a drop defender, meaning that he sits back and guards the paint, which again, when he's a 7-foot tall guy like Deandre Ayton, you'd think that's probably the best strategy, especially since he's not the most mobile out on the 3-point line. But instead, he kind of just acts as a, faux rim protector in that he doesn't really alter that many shots. He kind of just sits back and makes sure that the offensive player doesn't get to the rim, which even then, he doesn't always do that all the time. Point I'm trying to get at is that he just doesn't really contest that many shots or make that much of a defensive impact in many pick and roll opportunities as that drop defender. And even when defending the rim, it's kind of just a 50-50 chance whether Ayton's going to put in the effort or not, because there are plenty of plays where he'll offer 0 rim protection and it ends up being a really easy layup for the other team, or he'll actually give some effort and have some really nice blocks here and there, which I just wish we would see more of. But I think the part that frustrates me the most about his defense is that he just sometimes makes really simple plays so much more complicated than they have to be. And sometimes that means that he's just not hustling back on defense and guarding his man, like this play here where he misses a turnaround post fade and somehow lets Clint Capella just beat him down the court. He just watches him run right in front of him, where he ends up getting fouled for free throws. Or there's this play here, which was my personal favorite, where he gets back on defense in transition, and again, he is the 7-foot tall man on the court, supposed to be the rim protector, and rather than going and guarding Bruno Fernando, who is cutting to the rim, he instead sticks on Trent Forrest at the 3-point line, and you can tell that one of his teammates is trying to guard Trent Forrest, one of his guard teammates, and push Ayton back to the rim where he should be guarding, and Ayton just doesn't move. Now, ironically enough, he actually does defend the drive pretty well once Trent Forrest gets the ball in his hands, but it's besides the point. This play could have been so much easier if he just rotated like a normal defensive big should. So at the end of all this, again, I don't want to, I know I sound like a Deandre Ayton hater, but at the end of the day, if you guys can choose to believe me, I do actually think that Ayton is a talented basketball player. He wouldn't be at this point in his career if he wasn't at least somewhat good at the game of basketball. But the issues to me are, again, just the lapse in effort, and sometimes his head just doesn't seem to quite always be there. Add in the fact that he really hasn't seen much improvement, at least statistically, since his sophomore season. And I know there are a lot of things that go into that, whether it's injuries or playstyle changes for the whole team that he's been on. I know Phoenix, they were in the championship and then they weren't in the championship, and they're changing up their schemes a whole lot, which isn't always an easy thing to deal with. But for the most part, there has just always been a lack of consistency with Deandre Ayton, and I'm just kind of tired of it at this point. Now, granted, he is only 25 years old. He is probably just entering his prime right about now, so is this short little stretch of games here at the end of the season an indicator that he's going to become some beastly 25 point per game scorer next season? I doubt it, but there still remains a chance that that does happen. But at this point, with everything that I've seen from Deandre Ayton in his career so far, I just don't quite see how he can be a starting center on a team with real championship aspirations. And I know that's probably pretty harsh. It's a very big statement to make, but I just don't see it with his lack of defense and just lack of commitment to the basketball court at all times. This is also probably going to sound pretty harsh, but I genuinely think that Deandre Ayton's best contributing role for a team would be him being an offensive-minded big off the bench that just gives you, I don't want to say spot minutes here and there, but is someone that you can feel comfortable taking off the court if he's not playing well or not putting in the effort, and give his minutes to another big. Especially in the modern NBA, today's NBA, he just doesn't quite fit the mold of what you want for your starting center. In fact, the one name I couldn't really get out of my head while watching this Deandre Ayton tape was Nikola Vucevic, because Vucevic is a very solid player, even made an all-star team at one point in his Orlando days, and is capable of putting up 20, 25, even 30 points on any given night. But at the same time, he is someone that is limited on defense, plays a lot of drop, and teams can exploit that, and it's just something that you don't necessarily want on the court at the end of games from your big man. So yeah, again, I really hope this didn't come across as too much hate for Deandre Ayton. Like I said, I do think that he is a very good, capable player. It's just, in today's NBA, I just don't have that much belief in the ceiling that other people seem to think he has. That's all I got for this one. As always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those good things, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.